Okay. King James commissioned several men, I think it was 24, to rewrite, modify, and or change the Old Testament and to write and create, literally, a New Testament. Now, God is good all the time. And the light bulb goes on, the red flags come out, all the bells and whistles ring in the very first chapter of the New Testament, which is Matthew. And you don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to have a high IQ or overwhelmed with any type of scholastic aptitude in order to know that this was God's underlying way of allowing the nations to let us know what's really going on without them even realizing what they were doing. In the first chapter of the New Testament, starting from the first verse, it gives an account of the genealogy of who we've known to be Jesus Christ. And the reason for this is that God told David, he promised David, that the Messiah would be his descendant, would be of his seed, and would come out of his house. So in order for them to pull off this myth, this hoax that they have used over thousands and thousands of years, the first thing that King James had to do is prove and establish that Jesus was the Messiah. Before you even get started, you got to prove that first before we can even get started with that. Yes, Elijah the prophet is supposed to precede the Messiah. However, you still have to prove genealogically, biologically, that this guy is related to David. So this is why Matthew starts off with the genealogy of a man that we know to be Jesus. It starts from Adam. It starts actually from God into Adam and goes down and starts to say, so and so begat him, and then he begat this person, and this person begat that one, and it goes all the way down. And please do not take my word for it. This is too volatile. You have to research it for yourself. At the very end of the genealogy, it reads, and he begat Joseph, who was the husband of Mary, who was the mother of Jesus Christ. So in essence, and literally in actuality, it was giving the genealogy, or it gives the genealogy of Joseph, Jesus' stepfather. Well, if he was supposedly conceived by the Holy Spirit and born of some virgin by the name of Mary, in Hebrew Miriam, well then why is it giving the genealogy of Joseph? It should be giving the genealogy of Mary, not of Joseph, because he wasn't related to Jesus, period. Not to mention the fact that, two, a woman has no seed. It had to be born of a man in order for this promise to be executed. This Messiah would have to be born of a man, this Christos, or Christ, if you will. Third, after all of the bells and whistles ring, and we see that Jesus has no relation, according to the myth, to David, that kills the whole Messiah theory right there. But still in all, even if it did give the genealogy of Mary, it still wouldn't hold up because of the fact that women have no seed. And people think that where biology or science and religion or science and belief in God twain, there's some sort of contradiction, and that's just not the case. Literally, you need one to understand the other. But another very, very popular passage in the scriptures from the Old Testament that Christians use in order to support the fact that the prophecy was fulfilled, or that Jesus was Jesus, or that he was the Christ or the Messiah, is in the book of Isaiah, where there gives an account of them saying that he will be called, a virgin will give birth. Now, first of all, where it says a virgin will give birth, this is the early American translation from Greek. When in Aramaic, in Hebrew, the original version of the Bible, virgin does not mean a female or a young girl. It doesn't mean a female who hasn't had sex. The actual definition means young girl. And the reason why they put emphasis on her being a virgin is because of the fact that it's assumed that if a young girl has never been married, that she's a virgin. It's just a given. In the Hebrew culture, it's just a given, period. And this is the reason why. So it wasn't any type of a sign via the miracle of a virgin birth. No. There are certain laws in the earth, and there are certain laws in the universe. And the first law is that the twain may not meet, meaning the laws of the universe don't affect the laws of the earth. Now, another law of the earth is that God can make or break any law he wants to, obviously, but not even God will break his own laws that he has set up in place. One being that in order to have reproduction, sperm has to meet with an egg at some point in order to have a human being. Point blank, period. No exceptions. Can it happen, a virgin birth, without a sperm meeting an egg in terms of miraculity, being a miracle and being miraculous? Can God do it? Of course, sure. But will he? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. First of all, this was supposed to be a sign for King Ahaz, who was a king of Israel. He was a king in Israel who was not a just king. And he was not ruling righteously. And in an effort to get him to turn away from his wicked ways, he was given a sign that a not virgin, but a young girl would have a baby, and he would be called Wonderful Counselor, Prince of Peace, not God, or any of those types of things that you may read in the English interpretation of it. It doesn't read that way in Hebrew. Okay, I read Hebrew very well. It was supposed to be of a virgin, not a virgin meaning a young girl's birth, having a baby, and she would call it Emmanuel. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jesus was not named Emmanuel, nor was he ever called or identified as being Emmanuel. Not only was he not called Emmanuel, but his name wasn't Jesus. In fact, there is no J in Hebrew. There's no J sound, period. There's only a Yah. His name was not Jesus, it was Yeshua. So the whole thing is just, this whole story is falling apart right before their eyes. For people who want to see, can see, and those who want to have, who hear, can have ears, can hear. So then we get to a point where you have to face the fact that not only is this not applicable to the man that we know as Jesus, who's described in the New Testament, but the New Testament was not even written until hundreds of years after Jesus' death. He never even seen the New Testament. Jesus did not say one thing in reference to the New Testament. Nothing. Everything that you see, even the red, these are things that people said he said. Primarily Paul. Not anything that Jesus said. He never even seen it. When Jesus was challenged, which he often was, by the Pharisees, they would charge him with riddles, and he would always respond in the same way, according to the myth or the facts, however you want to look at it. Either way, it doesn't matter. He would always say, what did Moses say? What does the law say? And law in Hebrew means Torah. So what he actually said was, what does the Torah say? What did Moses say? Why are you asking me these questions? They would say, Jesus, in the next world, if a man takes two wives, who will be his wife in the next world? You know, and he would always say, what does the law say? What does Moses say? And thus and thus and so on forth. And this is all a major trick by North America, which was formerly Babylon, Europe, the Rothschild, and everyone else to keep the 10 tribes of Israel blind, ignorant, and unknowing, which is the secret of Freemasonry, not to allow Israel to know who they are. But sadly enough, this is not only something that they want to keep secret, it's something that God Himself does not want us all to know at one time. Even people who are viewing this right now, some already know it, some don't, some will accept it, and some won't. But in a nutshell, it's still a sense of the prophecy being fulfilled because of the curse that the 10 tribes occurred upon themselves because of worshiping false idols and sacrificing their children to the Balaam and different other idols. And the thing that's really hurtful and sad is the fact that even today, throughout the world, every first Sunday of the month, you have Christians all over the world, particularly brown ones, the ones that I'm concerned with, who emulate this self-same sacrifice by taking what they call the host of bread and wine, which is supposed to be some sort of a mockery of body and blood. That is an abomination to begin and end with. And in the New Testament, it's trying to put God off as a hypocrite because it's saying that He sacrificed His only Son. First of all, Jesus wasn't God's only Son, but that's another story. God's not a respecter of persons. But God made it very clear to Israel, which is the reason on how they got into all the mess that they got into, by watching the practices of other nations sacrifice the blood of their children and by fire. They would do that. And Israel did the same thing. And God said, "What are you doing? I never told you to do that." And not only did I not ever tell you to do that, it never came into my mind. That is so super profound. Not only did I not tell you to do it, but it never even came into my mind for you to sacrifice your children. So if this is the case, why would He sacrifice His? This is so ridiculous, and it's so true that we believe far more than we know because we want to be dependent upon the knowledge of others when it comes down to issues that are far too prominent to put into the hands of someone else. Certain things are, we get this laissez-faire type attitude toward things, you just leave things alone type thing. It's not broke, so don't fix it. It's, we adopt the belief systems that our parents had or the ones that are the overwhelming beliefs in our country, and that's the ones we go with. And it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if it doesn't make any logical sense, maybe you should look into it a little bit. I mean, come on, it's just not adding up. It's just simply not adding up. And I'm going to give you some scriptures to look at because, like I said, this is nothing that is mundane where, you could just say, well, yeah, maybe so, or take my word for it. I'll give you the places to go, where to go and look at it, and that sort of thing. And in God's Mirror, which is the book that I've been commissioned to bring to you and present before you, it has different footnotes. But because we're not reading the book, we're basically summarizing it. I'll give you the places where it is in the scriptures. And until then, I'll see you guys soon. This is the intro to God's Mirror. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. L. Jacobson.